Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Griffin, would you lead us in the flag salute?
The Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law Statement. All requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Oradell. Notice of this meeting was filed with the Record and Town News, and all persons requesting such notice. Mr. Darian, would you read the mission statement?
Yes, the Oradell Public School District is dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence through comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district is committed to providing opportunities for social, emotional, and academic discovery to foster curiosity, courage, and character. Our goal is to prepare our students to become lifelong learners who are self-directed, resilient, productive, responsible citizens.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. Acosta?
Here.
Mrs. Negum?
Here.
Mr. Griffin?
Here.
Mrs. Norian?
Here.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Darian?
Here.
Mrs. Nichols?
Here. Open to the public for agenda items only. If you're joining us on Zoom, please raise your digital hand. Not seeing any, we'll move to the superintendent's report.
That came so quickly. Good evening. I keep thinking about President Nichols' words at our last board meeting about how our teachers showed up last year, ready to do whatever was needed of them. And anyone who knows me knows that some of the moments I enjoy most as superintendent is when I can be in our classrooms, when I can see everything that we're talking about here in action. And I have to tell you how proud I am of our staff right now, because what I'm seeing is they're not just showing up, they're moving forward. We're returning to our roots with math workshop. You know, everything we learned prior to COVID got put on hold when we had to be sitting in rows again, and that's gone. I'm seeing students learning in groups again, and that's what we want for our students and for our teachers. I'm seeing our teachers meeting in our new faculty room for data meetings, analyzing student work and doing what our district goal asks of them, which is to use data to inform instruction. And maybe most excitedly, and I got to share this with our curriculum committee meeting, I'm seeing us move our STEM initiative forward with our kindergarten teachers and first grade teachers on top of our kindergartners themselves, learning to use coding and different materials to develop their thinking skills. And I think the curriculum committee will agree later that I think our teachers are having just as much fun as our kids, and that's what we want. We want that return to the heart of who we are as a community, and I am so proud of our teachers because they didn't just stop, they didn't just show up. They've continued to find ways to move forward. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, and again, I think I've been a little reflective this past week, how impressed I have been with our school health office. I think we forgot how much more we put on their plates, and they've not stopped. They just keep moving forward. They've not once complained, where I'm hearing a lot of that from other districts saying, what are you doing to keep up? Our nurses are doing it. That has included meaning phone calls to parents on Sundays, and not once has anyone in our nurse office complained. So I just wanted to take that moment to share that with you, because you don't get to see OPS every single day, and that is really the best part of being superintendent and the one gift that I wish I could give you sometimes. So thank you.
Thank you. Business Administrator's report.
Thank you. Just a quick couple things that I wanted to note at tonight's meeting. Number one, the 22-23 school year budget is underway. Tomorrow, we're waiting to hear from the state to get our state aid figures, and we can narrow in a little bit more on the budget. And I'm sure next week we'll have a couple finance committee meetings to tighten everything up. Also, just a reminder, the Board of Education financial disclosure statements are due April 30th, so if anyone hasn't done it yet, you still have some time. And finally, the New Jersey School Boards Association workshop will be in person this year. I just got the notice in the mail the other day, and that's going to be October 24th through October 26th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Let's move to minutes review of February 16th. Any questions or comments, please email Mr. Marmara. We have the approval of January 26th. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of January 26th.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Norian. Any questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Acosta?
Hold on. I missed somebody. Somebody had a question. Mr. Darian?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I didn't know if we were going to vote on this. I didn't have a copy. I didn't know if I was here. Was I here on the 26th? I think when I looked at it last week,
I have the same question.
yeah.
I can't, it's been a lot.
Let's see.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to table the approval of January 26 minutes until our next meeting.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Shapiro. Any questions? Call the question.
Yes.
Mrs. Needham?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Committee reports, buildings and grounds, Mr. Darian?
Yes. Before I introduce these items, I'd like to just quickly go through our prior meetings at the Building and Grounds Subcommittee. We had 2 meetings. On February 18th, we met with our architect, Land Associates, and they gave us a presentation here in the auditorium with their interior designer, and she came up with a color scheme. And we had substantive conversations, and they had some follow-up items that we asked them to do. And after that meeting, we had another one on March 2nd, where we reviewed some additional things that they provided. We also did some work on our own, and we collaborated, and we came up with a, actually, with the palette, color palette that we have on display here. So, if you would, just look to either that easel there or against the stage. We have 4 colors. The one is blue. If you look on the stage, it's the leftmost one. Followed by a white that's a natural, it's not an antique white because that is more yellow. This is more of an earthy white. The other color is a light gray, and then there's just white, which is the accent piece. And the blue will be most of the woodwork. I don't have a slide, no. No, it's not coming out good. And the white will be the columns, and above the columns will be gray, and the ceiling will be gray, and we'll have the trim painted a solid color gray, and or white, excuse me, and we're going to go with gold curtains. And right now we're waiting on samples on the curtains because they have different weights, how heavy they are, and then how much reflectivity they have. I don't know if you realize it, but our existing curtains don't shine at all, and we're kind of looking for something a little bit more theater-like, where it has a little bit of reflectivity. And we have samples on the piano showing the different materials for the curtains. The chairs will be a very durable cloth, and that's on the easel. It's a light gray, and well, it'll fall over. Yeah, it's very rickety. Can they see it? Yeah, you can see it right
Yeah,
behind
you can see
You
it,
can see
you can see it, Rami's.
Yeah. John, if you could bring up that piece of plastic that's on the piano. It's just laying on the piano. It's a white piece of plastic. Yeah. And hold that up. Yeah. Just next to the easel right there. So that gray is going to be the epoxy floor. It looks lighter than what's being shown on the screen, slightly lighter. The darker plastic above is the backs of the chairs, and then the material is a light gray. And that will be the field of chairs. We spent quite a bit of time determining, the style of the chair and the density of the chairs. I think the only major change to the existing layout is we're going to be adding a little bit more space in between the chairs so that your knees don't hit the seat back in front of you. And it makes it a little easier to shuffle in and out. Over the years, the density of chairs have been reduced, and we had quite a bit of information that we had to go through. They've gotten wider and longer in the seat, and the aisles have gotten bigger. So we don't want to lose too many chairs because of the additional aisle width. So we're working with our professionals who do nothing but theater seating, and they've actually laid out some solutions here on the floor in tape that we can review after the meeting, and we can get into further discussions on the chairs. We're also considering, which we don't have here tonight, possibly changing the spotlights and the theater stage lights. That's within the scope, but we haven't gotten to that part yet. And then we also have samples on the piano. I'm not showing them right now because we haven't found a pattern or a color that we like. So a lot of them are in the grays, and right now they're competing with the gray in the chair or the gray in the walls, and it just gets too muddy. So our architect is working to get additional samples for us for the carpeting. But fortunately for us, carpeting is not a long lead time. The thing we need to get going on sooner than later is ordering the chairs, because that takes forever. We're going to have to wait at least several months before they arrive. So that's basically all I have in terms of our building and grounds meetings up to this date. With that, I'd like to introduce on tonight's agenda items. Have I got the right one? Yeah, just B1 for facility use.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Acosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Negum?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Curriculum, Mrs. Norian?
Yes, we had a meeting on Monday, and a couple things. First of all, we got to see what a monumental task is ahead for us in the coming year. You may not be aware of it, but we were given a reprieve this past year in updating curriculum, so we were taking a little bit of a breath because of all that we've been going through. However, the state has come back and said not only do we have to meet what we were supposed to do in September, but we have the additional year's curriculum that we need to rewrite, and there are new standards, et cetera, et cetera. So we have, it really is a gargantuan attack that we are looking at. And luckily, our administrators are breaking it down into pieces so that we do a little bit at a time. So we will be approving different curriculum through the years, hopefully starting in April. But we'll see how it all works out. It all depends on how everything falls into place. We talked about some of the initial planning for 2022 and 2023, and also talked about a text for world language. So those were some of the things that we talked about. You'll get a full report in your next board notes. But that's where we are. So if anything else, Rita, did you?
The one thing that we are coordinating with River Edge in
Yes.
most of the areas there, which has been, the staff, the administrators feel is very beneficial.
Right. And another thing, kind of alluding to what Ms. Bozios indicated about our staff, is she showed us a little bit of a clip of some of our teachers working with some of the new material that they'll be working with the students, and I think they're having more fun than the kids are. So if that's at all possible, they were like children, enjoying and exploring some of the things that they would be using, and it was a lot of fun to see. Kind of puts a personal touch on it. Anything else? That's it.
Any questions? Okay. Finance Technology, Mrs. Shapiro.
Sure. So, we haven't met in a couple of weeks. I guess now that all of these numbers are coming together, we'll be meeting next week, preparing something, I guess, for the next board meeting on the 23rd, and then the budget can be submitted to the state. So, other than that, I don't have a report. Tonight, I'd like to make a motion to approve items D1 through D4.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Acosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Negum?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin? Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Delegate report, Mr. Walsh.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Personnel, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, we had a very productive meeting this evening and covered a number of areas which you will see in your minutes for the next meeting. And with that, I'd like to present F1.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Acosta? Mrs. Negum?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Policy, Mrs. Negum.
Yeah, so, we have a revised face covering policy to present today. And with that, I'd like to present G1 to the board. You will see the revised policy in your board packets. And this was after we had our, revised face covering optional, which started this Monday.
Do I have
I'll
a second?
second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? We're actually not doing a first reading. We're actually voting tonight. This is the second reading because it had to be done quickly, so. Okay, call the question.
Mrs. Acosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Negum?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Mr. Griffin, we'll go to you for Public Relations and COVID Task Force.
Excellent. We met on the Public Relations Committee today to kind of go over updating some materials for the public related to the Board of Ed, a welcome to the Board of Ed meeting brochure that we have, and looking at also an intro to the Board of Education that we would use on certain nights. The other thing is we're looking at options for spicing up our newsletter a bit with some video content or video options in the future. So keep looking for that. A little teaser there. Then lastly, the website is in the process of us reviewing and updating. So if you have ideas that you'd like the website to have happen, maybe send them to Mrs. Bozios. so she can start collecting that stuff. We'll be looking at that over the next few weeks to months. Oh, COVID task force, we had our last meeting on February 28th, reviewed the changes to put us to this new setting for this Monday, and we'll probably be meeting again next week to review how things are going along. That's the latest update.
Thank you. At this time, we will open to the public. If you're joining us on Zoom, please raise your digital hand. Okay, Ms. Sham, I was going to say that I forgot something in my president's report. I forgot to talk about Odyssey, so why don't you tell us about Odyssey since I see your hand risen, but unblock your camera for us.
Hello. 'Tis the season. Am I doing this right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it's Odyssey season. It's my first, I hope, of many times meeting with you between now and the end of May or early June. I'm happy to report that this is the first time since COVID started that we were partially live for the regional tournament. Teams went down to the regional tournament at Milburn Middle School, and we did not get to hang around at the holding rooms the way we normally do, but we got to bring our pieces live. So they were our big giant set pieces and our overly elaborate costumes, which we're very excited about. And so that part was really great. And we did not have a live award ceremony. We watched the award ceremony on Sunday evening, and I'm happy to say that we were second in regionals and are advancing on to state finals. As far as I know, state finals will follow the same format, and I would like to also thank Mr. Walsh, as always, since back in 2009 he signed on, and he's still trooping along with us. So thank you, Mr. Walsh. It was nice to have an opportunity for you to meet the kids, to see their solutions, and to get a chance to just get to know them a little bit better. So thank you, as always, for your support as a board. It's always a tough ride. It's always an odyssey, a long, arduous journey. And this is just the beginning. So state finals is April 9th. And, we're looking forward to a win so that we can go to Iowa. And thank you so much.
Congratulations. I'm sorry I didn't say it earlier. I just forgot I was going to do it now. So
That's
congratulations.
Okay. I get it.
So keep us posted after April 9th. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Any other comments from the public? Not seeing any. We'll move to old and new business. Mr. Darian?
I have some new business, John. You mentioned workshop. This is in October. Let's see if we can get reservations at the Sheraton. So I'll send you an email. I know they fill up real quick. I don't want to get stuck. A couple of years I got stuck in a hotel room without carpet.
That's because
It
you
was-
didn't sign up soon enough, Greg.
It was disgusting. And the door between the two rooms, it didn't lock.
I never had a problem.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Neither
you
did
rubbed it
I.
in that one time when you ended up staying. I
In the
stayed where you were.
penthouse.
Yeah, but except I got the crappy tower. You were in the better one. So, yeah, let's see if we can, rope in the Sheraton real quick. So, I just wanted to mention that. If anyone's looking to go, the Sheraton is directly across the street from the Atlantic City Convention Center. So you don't have to do the trolley bus and all that nonsense. And the food is better, in my opinion. So I go where the food is. And all the superintendents, they hang out there, just so you know. Megan, I think this will be your first year. So it'll be on you. So, anyway, so that's
Mine
that.
are
I just
done.
wanted to mention that. And then, of course, I have another thing if nobody else wants anything to say.
Well, I do, but go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead, Mrs. Walker.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just that, this came from the New Jersey School Board's February newsletter, and it's just an interesting aside that the feasibility study of unifying school districts has been initiated by the governor. And he passed, well, Salem County has been given permission to actually have one school district. It went to a consortium and they agreed to it. Now, when they agree to it, as far as the districts go, it then has to go to all the residents to vote on it. It has to be a referendum. But it's been laid out by Governor Murphy that under the new law, the state will pay interested school districts for half the cost of such a study. So they would pay for half of the cost of the study by this group of attorneys. And then districts can receive the other half of the funding after the study is completed and accepted by a new program in the state. So, and again, even if we, the whole group, which would be maybe Riverdale, River Edge, and I'm not saying we're doing this or anything, I don't want anyone to get upset, but it is being pushed more by the state to consolidate some of these school districts, so.
So I know that, I think at the municipality level, they had a similar effort, and I know that the borough underwent a study.
And we didn't vote on it, though.
No, but it was something that they had to request, and they were given money, and they conducted this study.
We went under a study in '95.
No, I'm talking just this year.
Oh,
Well,
I
what
don't know about
happened
this
to
year.
it?
For regionalization, I don't know. I have no idea.
Regional, they
what-
did the school
They
stuff?
did a study?
Yeah,
They,
Who did
They
they
were
get
talking about it. Did they
information?
actually do it?
yeah.
Because there
From-
was money for it.
It's my understanding they got the,
but
the
it
money
has
for the
to go
study.
for a referendum. If,
no, I'm not saying that they agreed to
Can we-
regionalize. They agreed to have the study.
Can we get a copy?
I'm sure we could.
okay.
We should
So-
get a
But I
copy.
find why the town would be looking into the school district.
Well, I think that gets to the old, problem that we have with the school funding formula for us in River Edge.
Yes.
So
That's
we
a
ha- we
big
have,
part.
we have two problems here. One is, we have these very small, boroughs like the rest of the state, right? And the state wants us to consolidate and make larger entities, economies of scale. But we also have a problem with the funding formula where we see inequities between River Edge and Riverdale. And I think it was from that perspective that the borough underwent the
could be.
study to see what regionalization would do for the borough. Now, I don't, that's all I heard, so I didn't follow up, I didn't ask, but I think they did that.
See if we can get a copy of the study.
We can ask. I know they didn't, suggest anything. Maybe they just,
They never do.
they put it in a, maybe they just circular filed it, I don't know. So-
Right. I mean, and this is going to take years, not in my lifetime and probably not in yours.
Right, because both, like you said, both towns, or anyone who's affected has to vote, and it has to be approved.
We had that a number of
Right.
years ago, and we were defeated, Oradell, by River Edge, because River
Well,
Edge has a larger population
of
and
the-
they pay less.
Right, that was because of the funding.
No, we weren't defeated, but it didn't pass because River Ridge voted down.
Right.
Oradell voted for it. I have a
Mrs. Shap-
question.
Mrs. Shapiro, you have a question on this?
How many towns are involved in this? Salem?
It didn't say how many towns, but the final vote was that the study concluded that the dissolution of the new pre-K-12 countywide regional district, that was one option, or two regionalized based pre-12 regional school districts. And it came up with having only one regionalized school district. So, but Salem does not have, it's not a heavily populated.
There's probably a lot of
County.
schools involved in
But,
it, though.
but they're talking about making a county school district as opposed
Right.
to just a regional. It's a county, so it's a county-wide regional.
Yes,
Which
that's
is
true.
very different from what we in Bergen County experience or could experience. It would be kind of hard to make all of Bergen County one part of one school district.
Yeah, with what, 500?
It would be like Los Angeles County unified.
Exactly.
560 some odd
Yeah.
school districts.
Hello, Maryland.
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
As Greg was giving the Buildings and Grounds report about the auditorium renovation, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on that a little bit more. Because I'm really excited about this project. I sat, like all of you, over the years, I sat in these seats for over a decade, squished on top of each other, and we would joke as people piled in, when is the first armrest going to break off, and clunk, there it goes, and maybe 3 more, or a seat would get stuck or whatever. And I didn't know if I'd see in my lifetime a renovation, and I'm so excited to be part of it. And we've stared at samples for hours and hours debating, negotiating. But it really is a joy, because what I think the whole committee wants is something that is classic, different, but really classic, really beautiful for the next 40, 50 years until the next renovation. Something that is high quality, but at the same time cost conscious and practical. We've seen a rendering that I guess we don't have, and it's still, going to be tweaked as we put things together. Like with everything else in the world, not everything is, the material-wise is ready. So in addition to picking out colors, we have to make sure that it will actually be available when we need it. So there are a lot of moving parts here, but I think we have a designer who has us on the right track, and a really good team here. And I'm really excited that we will hopefully be able to present this, really beautiful room for the next 5 decades for, the future generations of Oradell to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old or new business? Mrs. Negum?
Yeah, I just have a follow-up question as it relates to the renovation. Are the light fixtures being addressed on the walls that we have on these 2 walls here?
Mr. Darian?
No, we haven't really discussed, we discussed possibly replacing the bulbs, but in terms of the chandeliers or the wall sconces, I think we're planning on keeping them. It's a fine line, like when we did the front foyer renovation. We had to make it modern, from a safety standpoint, but yet it had to look like it was always there. So, we still are a 1928 building, and we want it to look like it's a 1928 building, but yet not function like one. So it's kind of, so I know that we replaced the LED bulbs when we did the ESIP program, but these bulbs are kind of generic, so we were thinking about replacing bulbs, but we didn't talk about the actual wall units. We did discuss in the foyer and in the stairwells, there's like builder grade, ceiling, flush ceiling lights, and we talked about replacing those with something a little nicer, in the foyer area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other old or new business?
Yeah.
Mr.
Am I
Darian?
last? Yeah, now that we're getting back to normal and we're maskless, I think we need to talk about Zoom and whether or not we should be simultaneously broadcasting via Zoom in addition to just running the regular meeting. I think that, personally, I think Zoom should have been a temporary measure, and I think that we did a great job. I don't think, I know that we did the best job out of everyone that I've heard of here in Bergen County in terms of broadcasting live Zoom, taking participants over Zoom, broadcasting them on the screen, and managing that whole digital process that runs parallel with our normal public meetings. But I think now that we're here in person, now that, you know, the cases are low, there should be no reason why people can't come into our meetings in person. And so I think that we should talk about, you know, just moving forward and eliminating Zoom.
Are we going to replace it with anything? Are we going to live stream on YouTube or?
Well, in the past, we've been recording and publishing to YouTube, and we've been doing that now for years. And we could also live stream if you want, so that if someone, you know, they don't want to wait till the following day to see, you know, what happened that night, they can watch it live. And I guess they could run here in person if they wanted to run down and say something, just like you could do when you're watching TV for, you know, the Riverdale, or you're watching TV for, you know, the Borough. I guess we can do live streaming.
Mr. Griffin?
I don't know if you're wanting to make the decision tonight or not, but I would definitely say that there's an access. You know, as we have offered it, originally I think we offered it because it was a necessity, right? And then the idea at this point, I think the lawyer had come in and very much they were like, this was illegal before, it's not going to be legal now. And we've had lots of conversations about whether or not we should do it or not. And the point we always fell on was like, if it's illegal, let's not do it. In the beginning, we didn't know how difficult it was going to be. We didn't know what kind of problems we were going to have. I think we came up with a great solution. And I would, applaud us on the fact that the folks that come to this have, maintained themselves well. It's worked well. And I think what we've found is it gives access to people to engage with these meetings that otherwise, for whatever reason, regardless of COVID or not, might not be able to. Some of those reasons weren't necessarily our intention. Maybe they are home and they can't come because they have kids that are there. But it's an easy thing to do. I'd love to see us continue it.
I would like to see us continue a live stream, maybe on YouTube though, not with the Zoom. I think like most districts, that is what they've gone to. Actually, a lot have gotten rid of it completely to live stream. I think we should still have access to everyone watching it. That would be my opinion, but onto YouTube. If we did it a live stream on YouTube, would the recording still be on our website the next day? Like, does it take any more work, or is it there automatically after the meeting? How does that work?
It's the same
Or does it
thing.
take longer now with Zoom?
It's just recording, but while you're recording, you're also broadcasting simultaneously. So it's the same thing.
And is it automatically saved on YouTube? I'm
Yes.
not technical.
Well, you have to upload it.
So someone would have to upload the next day like they do now, and they would
Yes.
have the link to our website?
Yes.
I think we should still have access to people watching our meetings. But I think for live comment, I think people, which is I think pretty much almost everyone in the county is doing live commenting at meetings. Any word from anybody in the county? I think you said there was something on that, right? You mentioned it?
I think, I was just looking to see if I could find the survey that was just done in the county. Of the 40 schools that responded, only 20 of them live streamed at all, and only 7 accepted public comments, with us being one of them.
What is that from?
Every month, the Bergen County superintendents are asked to complete a survey. It's been a bit of a hodgepodge of every topic that anybody has on their minds.
And is that one completed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that's it. So the people that answered, and it's not,
Yeah.
people are still not, okay. Mr. Griffin?
One of the things we discussed a while back was if we were going to make a change on this, if there would be value in finding out from the community what they think. And so putting it out to a survey to get their opinions before we make a decision like that.
Well, I can kind of tell you what the community thinks because we hardly ever have anybody watching.
I mean, it's one thing to make a decision
So
when
the
no one's
majority
watching.
of the community never watches.
That may not mean they want the access to go away.
They're not, the access will still be there, they'll still have live access.
There is a difference. So you are right. Having live access to view it is true. I think being able to engage and raise your hand, like Ms. Shum, it was great that she was able to watch it, and if she was seeing it, she could watch it, but she wasn't able to, engage with us and tell us the update. And like for a teacher, that's
Ms. Sham is going to be here with her whole team in a few weeks.
that's great. That's great.
We want the whole team here, so
Right.
yes, they're going to be here live.
I think we also need to take into consideration all the people that it's taking in order to get this process to work. We all sit out here, and all we do is raise our hand and we get called on. But Dorothy and Greg are monitoring everything that's going on, the raising of hands, how many people are there, what's going on the entire time they're doing the meeting. So there's another point, another part that we need to consider. If in fact, we don't want to take away the idea that our public can see what we're doing. A live streaming would give them that opportunity. And if there's anything that they feel that they want to talk to us about, they can come and talk to us about it. We don't have that restriction so much anymore. But I think we need to think about all parts of it.
Do we have any stats on how many we do? Yeah, do we have anything on how many people have actually spoken, like other than the retirement, because that's a different situation, at our normal meetings, like even last week, it was a heavy topic meeting. We had 30-something people online, not one person spoke. People will come down and speak if it's on their minds. Mrs. Shapiro?
I'm going to say this. I think it is so nice to finally come out on the other side of this pandemic. I hope. I really hope, right? Moving forward. And so it's so nice to see in all facets of life getting a little bit more back to normal. And so I think as long as there is access, I'm okay with eliminating the Zoom, because we still encourage people to view if we do our part, posting the agenda in advance so that people can review it. People can always write in, people can come in. Before we were posting it, the meeting the next day, and our policy was specific for that, because in case something came up, like where a child's name came up, we could, if something personal, we could edit that, and that did happen one time with a name of a child was released, and we edited that out. But now that I think about it, like that really hasn't been an issue. So I do like the idea of the live feed. Riverdale does that. I have watched it. And if somebody wanted to come, they could come. So I guess the only issue would be maybe we would need to revisit our policy if we went to live streaming. But I think in all other facets of government, if you have business, you're expected to show up. And so, or write a letter. And I think as long as we maintain access, I would be okay with live streaming.
When you first mentioned it, did you mean live streaming, or you went to take everything away?
No, I didn't really have a specific goal in mind other than just to talk about Zoom. Sorry, I just wanted to drop the bomb. Whether we live stream or not, I'm indifferent to. I think it's important, personally, I think it's important that we be transparent. So I think that, our meeting should be recorded. I know that we have minutes, but the minutes don't really capture things like if you were there, right? So I think it should be recorded. And I always go back to meetings just to see, not just our meetings, but other governing bodies locally, just to see what's been going on. And for me, that's all I care about. I would never, view by appointment, and go to whatever is broadcasting live, because I can't force myself to that schedule. But if we feel that, we have to do something live so that if somebody doesn't, they don't have to wait till the following day. Let's say it's not posted till 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They wanted to know that night. I don't have any problem with, live streaming.
I have a question. There's also an expense with this, because before when we were recording, we didn't have Rami here, right? Like, did we just have a camera set up?
No.
Am I wrong?
No, we had, I recall,
have it?
we had the secretary, someone would come.
Oh, we had the
and
high
we-
school students.
Or
We
first
would-
it
we
was
would-
you're
high
right, you're right.
school.
We would
You're
still
right,
have
I take
Rami.
it back. We did have the high school, we
It
had a
was high
rotation.
school,
Yeah, yeah,
and
you're
then
right.
if they couldn't make it, one of the
Yes, you're right, you're right.
secretaries
Okay.
came.
Yep, thank you. So, right, so either way, there's an expense. Okay.
Ms. Botios found some data.
Okay, so if I go back one complete year from right now, the only time we have taken public comment through Zoom are for the appointment of the superintendent, the Odyssey of the Mind, the principal appointment, and retiring staff members. So in celebratory moments, that has given us an access, but no one has actually used Zoom to express a concern.
Mr. Griffin?
I wonder, I can't tell tonight if the intention is to just bring this up for a discussion or if it's for us to come to a decision. I would almost offer that if this is something that we are wanting to come to a decision on, to hold it and put it on an agenda item that folks know that it's going to be coming up and that we are going to make a decision, as opposed to having a big issue like this discussed as open business and making a decision tonight.
But point of order, I'm not sure that we need to have it as
It won't be on the resolution.
It
It won't be
doesn't
on the
need to be a
agenda.
resolution.
It won't be on the agenda.
But we can say that it will be discussed, but it does not need to be a resolution.
Mr.
So-
Darian?
Yeah, so I think what they're saying is we don't have to vote in order for us to make an action. But, at the same time, Mr. Griffith does make a point. No one was aware that this was going to be a topic for this evening. We did bring it up at the end of the meeting. So, what we can do is we can just say that we're going to discuss it again and, just have like a straw vote, just kind of a vocal, we'll give everyone a week to think of, or 2 weeks to think about it. And then we'll do this all over again. And this way, if anyone from the community wants to chime in, they can. And, we can, share our opinions. But we don't necessarily have to vote, right?
No.
Yeah. I think that's a reasonable approach to it.
I agree. I think that would be covering all bases.
It certainly gives everybody the opportunity, but I think at the end of the day, it comes to the district, right? When Riverdale did it, like, I had no say in it. It was, 1 week there was a Zoom, and the next week
Right.
there wasn't. So, but
Right. It is up to the district. And
it's up to the
also,
district, but
based on
everybody's welcome.
the
always.
historical data, nobody has used it.
Right.
Based on the historical data, no one has used it, except for a retirement or whatever. So, and we did it
Oh.
for COVID.
I have to say,
Yes.
but speaking of retirements, just think back a couple of years when Mr. K was here and Ms. Choka.
Yeah, we were
That
packed.
was the best in-person retirement we had. The room was full. I mean, it was like kids of all ages, the baseball team, the kids got up and they were sobbing, and it was like the best retirement, like, of all time. That was a lot of fun, and nothing like that can happen on Zoom. Like, we gave Mr. K a send-off, like, it was legendary. It really was. We had all of the teachers and everybody, the colleagues came. It was really beautiful. And when it comes to that, I really hope that we can, I hope to see that again.
This year. Well, no, we
Yeah.
don't have any retirements
No?
that I know of this year as of now. No, so no, not this
Okay.
year, which is a good thing.
So I have a question, actually.
Mrs. Migo?
Is there a cost, is there a Zoom cost that we are incurring because of having to support these meetings here? Or do we just have a Zoom subscription that we need to keep anyway?
Do you want me to answer? Okay. We do pay a webinar fee. Right now, we're utilizing that for other things as well. So when we did the webinars for the school reopening, that was the same webinar fee. However, if those things go away, yes, you would be paying a webinar fee just for board meetings.
Do we anticipate those going away?
Probably at some point.
It's going to be kind of like, again, YouTube would give us the live streaming. We've learned that live streaming is important, right? But a lot of times when we use those things, it's not for the interactivity of it. So I think it's about seeing how this year goes and seeing what we liked from it and what we need moving forward.
Sorry, and just one other thought I wanted to put forth. You know, as a working parent, I absolutely appreciate the ability to dial in and be able to even make like a positive comment on someone's retirement if I'm able to do that through Zoom, okay? And if you ask me, I don't think I would come into the board meeting if I was just a parent, right? And if I had the option of Zoom, there's so many things going on in the evenings, it's just almost impossible to take care of everything. So I would appreciate that option. So I'm just thinking, I'm just talking as a parent. But I do get that, we want the public to truly engage, and it really helps for everyone to be in the room and, present their thoughts. And especially if they had some, contentious issues to talk about, then it's best to be doing it in person. So I certainly appreciate that. The thought I was trying to present was, are we positive that this is behind us? Because I just feel like we're prematurely making this decision, and we might have to go back.
We would go back.
I
mean, if something changes in the school and now we're remote again, we're going back. That's not even an issue.
So, and then we don't see the need to put that in a sort of a resolution and vote on that.
No, because I think we would have to. If people aren't allowed in the building, if COVID is back, I think we would just automatically go back to it. Mrs. Walker?
To Pooja's point, I think we're going to have to live with COVID forever. And I don't know to what degree, please God, not to any great degree, but it's something I think we're going to have to live with. So if that's the criteria we're basing on keeping this, I don't think that it's worth the effort.
Yeah, and no, again, I think
Right.
the first point I put forth was, as a working parent, I would absolutely appreciate it. So I do agree with Mr. Griffin's idea that if we can do a survey, if you're able to do that, that would be great. But if that's not an option, then at least waiting the 2 weeks, would be what I would recommend as well.
So where are we?
That's what I was going to say. Do people want to wait?
I think we should just table this discussion until next board meeting, but I do think that we should take action as soon as possible so we can have some results to talk to that. I don't want to just rehash the same conversation. Would it be possible for our admin staff to send out something? No?
What if we did something different? What if we did next board meeting 2 different ways? Do it as a YouTube live stream, and also do it, I'm not sure, we'd have another camera. I think you're actually going to get more people on YouTube watching it, because when it's on YouTube, it can go on our social media site, and it will be easier access actually for people than Zoom. And when I'm looking at the data that I have, say the September 1st meeting, while there were 12 people who attended the meeting via Zoom, 26 views of it on our YouTube site. So that medium is actually getting to the community. I'm looking at another meeting where there are 46 views on the YouTube site. So I only have data through September, but I could also put that data together from September to February and see if that trend is consistent.
Okay,
So
so we're
but-
going to wait till next time to, okay, go ahead, Ms. Walker.
But I understood there's the option also of putting it on YouTube and also live streaming it,
We're going to live stream it on YouTube.
right?
So we won't have Zoom anymore. These computers will go.
Yes.
Only Rami will have his camera. And Rami will record us, but at the same time, he will live stream it right to people's computers. So people can still
Right.
watch it live, and then the next day it will be up on our website. The only thing is there will be no, like if you want to speak, open to the public, it'll be like before, you have to come down here, which is a better thing.
Right.
But yeah, it'll still be exactly the same. People can watch it live later, the next day, whenever they want.
So the few people from our past history that have a question or have a comment to be made can always come in the next day or email or whatever.
They can email before, or they can come in, except, as Ms. Bozio said, nobody had any comments except when we had retirements and Odyssey and the superintendent appointment, because people are happy, and the principal appointment. Other than that, no one has ever commented.
Right.
So if there's an issue, people do come. Like, if you notice our meeting 2 weeks ago, we had 55 people in attendance. 30-something of them were on Zoom. About 18, 20 were here. The people here spoke.
Mm-hmm. Right. And they could have been on Zoom, but they felt the need to come in because of the hot topic that it was.
Yes.
So why do we need to go through all
I
of
have
it?
one
Mrs. Shapiro.
other comment. So one thing we did, when we posted it the next day and didn't live stream it, so people couldn't come during the open to the public, if we did live stream it. And I know, like, years ago, pre-COVID, people used to watch the mayor and council meeting
Right. And run down.
and run to Borough Hall.
Right.
And, that's also still an option because the open to the public is at the end of the meeting. So I think, that's, I don't know when those 46 people viewed it, well, they were not watching it live stream. They viewed it after, but you could do it before. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, often when I watch these kinds of meetings, it's not live, but, it's nice to have the option. But like I said, I think we just need to look at that policy because it was, for a different time. That's all.
Also, the reality is that they get the agenda. Everyone gets the agenda or has accessibility to the agenda. So any questions that they might have, they have time to plan to be here, time to send a message in. It's not like it's happening an hour before we get to the meeting. There's, you can only do so much for people before they then have to take and put some effort into what they actually think is important. I think we have to be careful not to give them more than they can handle.
So one of the things I struggle with, I like things that are, new. I'm an early adopter, right? So I'm like, why are we struggling with this? This is just modern technology, and we're just old dinosaurs having a hard time adopting. But then again, there's more to it than that. So why would I ever come into a meeting if we had Zoom? Why? Why would I get in my car? Why would I drive over here, find a place to park, dealing with the rain or the cold or the lack of parking? Why would I have to sit next to someone I don't want to sit next to? I don't go to movie theater anymore either. So why do I just sit home and then just log in? Why would anyone want to come here if we had Zoom? And that's the thing I struggle with the most. We're actually encouraging that behavior by saying, you don't have to come in, just log in, and as long as you turn your microphone on, and in some cases we don't even require a video, right? We don't.
Right.
So you can just, from in your car or from your back deck while you're drinking, I mean, there's really nothing you can control. So that's one of the things I struggle with. So, public meetings are supposed to be public meetings where people are in public and they converse in public. I don't know.
We want the people here. We want the community here with us. That's what we want.
I think that's important. I think people engaging is important and continuing to make it as accessible as possible. I think it's an easy thing to do. And the other thing to consider is we're not thinking of all the reasons someone might not be here. There's a lot of reasons. I was just like, what if somebody was stuck in a hospital or something like that, but they wanted to engage? There are a lot of reasons that we can't even game out.
Nobody's engaging from a hospital, first of all.
You don't know.
Second of all,
You don't know what the issue
but
might
Jeremy,
be.
we had those issues before COVID, and it was illegal to do it. We could have done it before, it was illegal. So
Right.
we always had those issues. You can't.
The
you
answer
can't
of
do
we did this before.
Right, but my point is, we can't do everything for everybody. We have to do what's, the majority. There's always gonna be some person that's not gonna be able to make it. Even if we're live streaming on Zoom, there's gonna be people that can't make it. They work at night, they're going to the airport, there's gonna be people that aren't, should we change our meetings to 3 o'clock so that person can make it? No. So we have to do what's best for the majority. The thing that is interesting to me is that the Bergen County Superintendent Survey, out of 44 people, now there's 70 districts, 44 responded, 7 are keeping it, and there is a reason for that. There's a reason. There's a reason. Yeah, of the ones that answered, 27 are not even live streaming, no access. So there are, people want to see their community here.
I'm glad we're waiting a couple of weeks, and I'm glad we'll be able to discuss it again.
Any other open business, new or old?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Well,
I
Mrs. Walker beat you.
I beat you.
Yeah. You're sleeping on the job.
Yeah.